Hi, it's Diana. I'm whispering because it's really late at night and I'm in my kitchen and I'm gonna have myself a piece of lemon bundt cake that I made the other day. And this I thought was a good way to start talking about In the Night Kitchen by Maurice Sendak. I'll go eat my cake now, probably with some milk. It's Diana, and here I am with my second food story. I am going to be talking about In the Night Kitchen by Maurice Sendak. As most people know Maurice Sendak for writing Where the Wild Things Are. Okay, so the characters in this story, there are, I'm going to say two, but one's a group. So the main character is Mickey, and he's the little boy. And then the other character, anyway, the other character is a group of bakers. So there are three of them, but we're going to call them the bakers and make them one character. So that's characters. And then the events of the story, remember we have characters, events, and like an interaction. So the events of the story, it starts when the bakers are making noise and Mickey's trying to sleep and he wakes up and he tells him to be quiet. And then he falls into the kitchen. It's during the night, that's why it's a night kitchen. He falls into the kitchen and several things happen to him. The bakers think he's milk because he falls into the cake batter and they try to bake him in the cake. And he jumps into a pile of dough. He refuses to be, he says, I'm not the milk. And he gets out of, thank goodness he gets out of the cake. It's gone in the oven. And then he makes he has batter. I'm going to show you a picture. So he comes out of the cake and he's got this batter suit on. Batter suit. It doesn't fall off. It stays on him. Kind of yucky if you ask me, but it's a story. Yucky things happen in stories. So there he is with his little cake suit. And he makes this airplane out. He makes this airplane out of bread dough. So you're already hearing, I've already mentioned three foods, and the three foods we're going to talk about, but that's not yet. So he goes and he collects some milk. Might that be another one of the things? He collects the milk, and again, he's naked. He collects the milk in that so that the bakers can make a cake with milk instead of with him as a substitute for milk. And they're happy with their milk, and they make the cake. And Mickey goes back to sleep. He goes back to sleep. Okay, that's like flash. You can't really see it. See it? See it? Okay. Hi, we're back with the food for In the Night Kitchen. And I really like this food because I like to eat them all. And it's different than a lot of the books I did or will do, different than the Polar Express, because with a lot of them, there was an element of discovery. Like I didn't know there was a difference between hot chocolate and hot cocoa when I did when I first started thinking about the Polar Express. That was the sound of my dog galloping into the kitchen. But I know what cake is, I know what milk is, and I know what bread is. And that's one of the things. They're very familiar. And not only that, they're kind of generic in this story. Like when you think about cake, think about cake. So I'm going to think about cake and visualize a cake. And in my head, what's in your head? What does a cake look like? A lot of time cake has frosting and sprinkles. It's decorated, but Mickey doesn't have a decorated cake. He has, the beginning is just cake batter, and then it's a morning cake. That's it, morning cake. So we know when we have that cake, we have it in the morning, but we don't know what flavor. That's another thing. Not only do cakes usually have a look, they're somehow kind of fancy, but they also have a flavor. My favorite cake is carrot cake. And so the other thing, the other food is milk. And the milk in the book is just milk. It's not buttermilk. It's not soy milk. It's not 2% milk. It's not almond milk. It's just milk. To be fair, when the book was written, there wasn't soy milk or almond milk. There was cow milk. And then the last thing is bread. What do we think of when we think of bread? A lot of times we think of sandwich bread. And we don't know what kind of bread this is. It's still bread dough. In the book, it never becomes baked bread. So those are things to think about. There are things that we're familiar with: bread, cake, and milk. So with this book, we're going to talk about the theme. So we're going to analyze it in terms of theme. Now, theme is what could be called, you could have heard of it as the main idea, but it's a recurring or an idea that stands out. So theme can be identified usually by one word, but a theme is not one word. So first thing to do is to identify that one word. And to me, it's funny that I keep using the word identify, because the theme word to me is identity. And so in my opinion, this book really centers around who Mickey is. Our analysis, and remember, we need an analysis question. So we're doing two things at once. We're thinking of an analysis question, and we're also going to have to come up with a theme statement or a sentence that includes our theme that is not just one word. So I'm going to go to the analysis question in a second. First, I want to say something about theme. So the theme of this book is identity, is not a theme sentence. Okay, it's a starting place. Just like an analysis question is a starting place. It's a thinking of, this is interesting. I'm getting a lot of identity vibes. How do I explain that in the context of this book? Okay, so that is where we're going. That's also not the theme sentence. Okay, so our analysis, we're analyzing, we're doing a theme. Our analysis question might be, remember we use the words how does Maurice Sendak use cake, bread, and milk, our foods, to convey the theme of identity in the night kitchen? Okay, now we're starting. Like, what does bread, cake, and milk have to do with the idea of identity? That's just our starting point question. Okay, when we talk about identity, we're talking about who someone or something is. And when we look at in the night kitchen, there's only one character who has a name, and that's Mickey. The bakers have kind of a title, and it's plural. Remember, I said we're going to look at them as a group. They dress the same, they act the same, they say the same thing, they look the same, and they don't have individual names. The other characters, we don't even see them, and that's Mickey's mom and dad. And he calls them Mama or Papa or something like that, which is an identifier by relation. So it identifies them, but it doesn't make them individuals. We know nothing about his mom and dad. Mickey does have a name, and not only does he have a name, but he proclaims his name very proudly. When the bakers mistake him for milk, he says, "I'm not the milk, and the milk's not me." And he says, "I'm Mickey." And at the end, he even crows, "Cock-a-doodle-doo." And so he's very much proclaiming, embracing who he is. I think it's also very significant that in parts he's naked. But since we're talking about food, we're not going to talk about the naked parts. The other thing, if we look at the foods are also generic. Remember, the cake doesn't have a flavor. The bread doesn't even really have shape until Mickey gives it shape. But it's not a shape that stays because it's not baked. Okay, and now we are to the theme, making a theme statement. We have the theme idea, which is identity, but we need to make it into a statement. So there are a couple of things that we need to know about a theme statement. A theme statement needs to be true about, or an insight or a perspective about, not just something that happens in the book, but about people in general. So we could say it about a character. In this case, we could say it about Mickey, but we could say it about people in general who aren't in the book at all. In fact, who are real and not characters. It also doesn't summarize the book. So if I were to say that a theme statement could tell us what the book is about, that would not be me telling you what happens in the story. What's it about is an idea, what it is, or a perspective. What happens is what are like the events that we talk about. It also doesn't use absolutes. It doesn't say always, all, every, none. Okay, so what might be the theme statement of this book? It could be embracing one's identity. Notice I didn't say Mickey. One's, or a person's identity makes a person strong. Now let's think about that. Is that true of Mickey? Mickey embraces who he is. He says, I'm Mickey. I'm me. I'm not that. I'm not what you're calling me, you bakers. I'm who I say I am. Does that make him strong? Well, he's able to build a plane, get away from the bakers, get them some milk. He kind of saves the day. Not just for himself, but for the bakers who get to make their own cake. So yeah, it makes him strong. It's true for Mickey. Now, is it true for people outside? If I say who I am, or if I try to pretend that I'm something I'm not, if I'm going to pretend that I am not silly, because I am silly, it becomes very sad and hard. And then I kind of get grumpy because I'm trying to be something or trying to not be something that I am. So yeah, it's true for me too. If I embrace who I am, that makes me strong. It makes me confident. It makes me happy. So yes, that is true for Mickey in the book, but it's also true for other people. Did I say it's true for everybody? No, because it might not be. But we can say that it is true in the world, not just in Mickey's world. So here we go. This is a big one. It's combining analysis. How does Maurice Sendak use cake, milk, and bread to convey this theme of identity? So we have a theme statement, and we have to answer the question, the analysis question of how. This is a long answer. So here's the answer I came up with. Sendak uses the generic foods of milk, bread, and cake as comparisons to Mickey, who is an individual, to create the theme that a person who proclaims his identity is strong and confident. Okay, we already talked about all of those things. And notice that I said, I did mention Mickey. Maurice Sendak uses the foods, bread, milk, and cake, to compare with Mickey. So I'm talking specifically about the book, and then the theme, to create the theme that a person, we're not saying Mickey, but a person who proclaims his identity is strong and confident. So yes, it applies to the book, but it also applies to general things. All right, I think that's it. Thank y'all. Bye.